Alrighty, guys and girls, have we got a great rant on tonight? Great rant on tonight. This is business. Hello, Tony. Good to see you as well. Alrighty, this is a business rant inspired by a book in my journal. So at the start of every year, I get a new journal. Most of the times, I'll end up needing 2 journals, but I've got myself a new journal and I was jotting down notes from a book I've been reading by Amy Morin, The 13 Things That Mentally Strong People Don't Do. So what did I do? I got that book and I started writing out all my notes, and then what I did is I converted that on what it would look like if I was writing a book on 13 things mentally strong real estate agents or salespeople don't do. Hello, Emil, good to see you, and I'm watching very closely your new TV series online. And Mole, good to see you. Alrighty, gang, let's get the show on the road. Nicole Ware, who runs Leader in Victoria for News Corp, good to see you. Alrighty, guys and girls. So why is this subject really important? Because I've always said it, that I believe that success is 80% psychology and only 20% mechanics. And I think a lot of people, hey Sam, and I think a lot of people running around, they're looking for the next script. They're looking for the next fancy way of getting the phone to ring. They're looking for some technique. They're looking for some software. They're looking for the best CRM system. They're looking for some listing presentation kit. And I have to say to you, ultimately, I want you to understand that the information to be successful is out there. You can get that, and my preference is that you get a lot of your content ready, prepared, that I get in the real estate gym. But I have to tell you, there's a lot of content on Audible, YouTube, books, Google. But what I actually notice is when I look at the best people, they have got a different mindset. And this great book that I was reading had gone off and basically summarized what the strongest people do and what they don't do. And today we're going to start off and let you know that there are 13 things that were researched that strong people that are mentally strong don't do. Today I'm going to go through 6 of them. Next week I'll go through the other 7 because I think that it would take me an hour to do this rant. So what I'll do is I'll do around 6 tonight and then 7 next week. So let's get going. The number one thing that mentally strong real estate agents don't do is the following. They don't have self-pity. I'll repeat that. They don't have self-pity. They don't feel sorry for themselves. And what they do is they replace self-pity with gratitude. Hey, Johnny Manis. And yes, Byron Bay was sensational, guys and girls, and I love Byron Bay. I go to Byron Bay 2 to 3 times every year. Okay, so replace self-pity with gratitude. And I want you to understand, and listen to me carefully, no one is immune to hard times. We have our good seasons and we have our bad seasons. Hello, Marie. Hello, Jane. Grant Whisker, how you going, brother? Sam Parsons, good to see you. Okay, so I want you to understand, we're going to have our good seasons and we're going to have our bad seasons. And yes, it's the start of the year and many people are going into planning mode. Some people did that planning late last year. But I've got to tell you, as Mike Tyson says, everyone has a plan till they get punched in the face. And I'm going to tell you, no plan survives collision with reality. Hey, Darren and Ricky, good to see you. I would love to hear from you, Ricky. So, no plan survives collision with reality. And I want you to get very okay about the fact that at some point in your life, And I hope it doesn't happen soon, but at some point in your life, something bad is going to happen that you have no control of. That is statistics. That's not me being pessimistic. And I'm going to tell you that mentally strong people don't sit and feel sorry for themselves when it happens. And I'm going to share a story with you. Marla Ranyan. Marla Ranyan had an eye disease. And this eye disease, and I forget the name of the eye disease, but the eye disease meant that this person's eyesight would deteriorate. And instead of Marla sort of saying, why was I born with this thing that's going to lead me to become blind? She didn't do that. You see, Marla had a passion for running. She loved running. And what she did is she decided that she would go off and put her energy into running instead of sitting at home feeling sorry for herself that she was born with a condition that meant that her eyesight would slowly degenerate. And what did she do? In 1992 and in 1996 in the Paralympics, she won medals, she broke records. And the reason she did it is she decided that she would replace her self-pity with gratitude. She was grateful that she was alive and could compete and do something she loved. So she went off and she started training and practicing and getting coaching and got obsessed with it. And you know what happens? She got addicted to winning. And in the end, she's going to be known as the person with no eyesight that won medals in the 92 and 96 Paralympics and broke world records in those two Olympic Games. And I have to say to you, like I was having a chat with a client slash friend of mine who has had a broken relationship. And, I said to him, like what you've got to look at is what's the gift in this situation? And I went through and I sort of said, well, one of the gifts is you weren't married. That makes it easier. Another gift is you didn't have children. That would have actually been even more complicated. Another gift is that you didn't end up wasting another 1 year with this person, because this is another 1 year that you might not meet the next person. There's an opportunity cost. So all I'd like to tell you is the first quality of people that are mentally strong is that they don't sit there and feel like a victim. They look at a situation and say, what's good out of this situation? And it might only be a glimpse of a small thing, but I can tell you that the research is very clear and overwhelming that people that score high on the gratitude curve have better immune systems. They seem to live longer lives. They also are less sick. They also score as being happier on the curve. Number two, the second thing that mentally strong real estate agents don't do is give their power out to someone. Hello, Sarah. And by the way, Sarah, check out Rita, R-I-T-A. Sarah and I are going across Australia and New Zealand over the next, it's going to be in the month of February, the last week or two of February. Hit up Rita is the name of the business. Sarah Bell is, of course, one of the founders of that business. And we look forward to seeing you at those sessions where I'll be covering how to be a fanatical prospector. Hello, David. And by the way, our thoughts are with you, David, and everyone else in our real estate community and broader community that have been affected by the fires. And I'm so happy when 3 hours ago the rain started coming down in Sydney. I thought to myself, hey, surely it's going to hit some of those country areas, and I hope it has, in areas that need it. Paul Checker, mate, good to see you on Instagram. A big wave out to Paul Checker, the brother of the ex-Wallabies coach. And I'd say Paul Checo is probably one of the best thought leaders in understanding life and business that I've met. He's like BP, the quiet achiever. Guys and girls, the second thing that mentally strong real estate people don't do is hold grudges and have jealousy. To me, jealousy and envy is the worst of the human emotions. The worst of the human emotions. Jealousy is, to me, the worst of the human emotions. And I'm going to say to you that what you've got to learn to do, and it's a work in progress in my life, is to learn to forgive. You see, when you forgive someone, you actually make that person less important. When you forgive, you actually make that person obsolete. When you don't forgive, it seems that your whole energy, it seems like your focus and your emotions are attached to this person that's created this issue. I'm going to say to you, guys and girls, you've got to learn to forgive, and to forgive quickly, because the minute you forgive, that issue becomes obsolete. And you owe it to yourself to forgive, not to the other person, to yourself. Because when you don't forgive, you're the one that goes to bed at night angry and pissed off, and what you're doing is basically swallowing your own poison. And I'm going to say to you, there are plenty of instances where there were people that learned to forgive and went off and did incredible things. Let's have a look at the first one. Oprah Winfrey. At age 14, she gets pregnant. Baby ends up not being born. I don't know exactly what actually happened there, but it's a sad story. So have a look at this. I mean, let's talk about it. We got an African American at age 14 being pregnant. Mathematically, she's not a good bet of becoming successful in life. Oprah Winfrey. So if anyone right now is watching this video and is thinking to themselves, hey, they never got a good start in life, they never had the right upbringing, they never went to the right school, right? That, things didn't go their way. Well, let me tell you, no one would have bet on Oprah Winfrey. Now, I can tell you, she came from a very poor background and she was picked on when she was young. And she was picked on because also she was extremely poor. And what Oprah Winfrey did is forgave. And I have to tell you, one of the best things that you can do is to be listening to the Oprah Winfrey podcast, which Paul Checo was the one that put me onto it. Paul Checo put me onto it, and I think it's called Something for the Soul, right? And it is half an hour each week of incredible spirituality from some of the greatest people on the planet that are actually unpacking subjects to do with the spirit, with the mind, with the thing that you can't touch. Okay, guys and girls, Madonna basically had to forgive the whole music industry, because when she was pitching for work, she more or less was told, hey, listen, your music sucks, right? And look at how Madonna ended up in the world of music. Andy Warhol, again, rejected, right? No one wanted to actually stock his artwork. Years later, he owned his own museum. Guys and girls, thank you, Sally, for that comment. Guys and girls, I'm going to say to you that for me, I was a person that I would ruminate over issues where I would lose my power. You see, when you don't forgive, you're actually giving the power to the other person, right? And what you want to start doing is holding on to your power. And how do you do that? You forgive. Number three. The third thing that mentally strong real estate agents, or anyone for that matter, don't do is they embrace change. That's the word. They embrace change. You know, like right now, there's a bunch of people in real estate in Australia, New Zealand, in the UK that keep saying, but Tom, it used to work for me. Like they were smashing real estate in the last decade. 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, 14, 15, 16. Then all of a sudden, you start seeing, you know, social media and videos and Facebook and boosting and CRM systems, right? And, you know, pre-listing kits that are digital. And you're seeing real estate agents learning to master the art of the digital door knock. And you're seeing people like Lisa Novak, you know, selling real estate the way she does it. So guys and girls, I'm going to say to you, if you don't like change, you're going to hate extinction. Embrace change. Embrace change. And I'm going to share with you 5 things that I think are the cornerstone to helping you have a change program. And let's assume that you're watching this live rant here today and you're saying to yourself, hey, I want to make 2020 the year that I actually go off and I'm prospecting, right? Let's use that. I'm going to say what you start off with, rule number one in any change program is this: 30-day goal. Have a 30-day goal. Rule number one. Rule number two, have a look at the daily behaviors you need to have to get the 30-day goal. So let's assume that your 30-day goal is 400 prospecting calls a month. What you do there is you say, well, 400 in a month, I'm going to work 6 days a week, that's 26 days. I'm going to divide 400 by 26. I know that I need to have a daily behavior of 15 calls a day. It's a simple mathematical equation. 400, thank you, Shari, pick up the phone. Pick up the phone. That was his Eric talk, pretty much, pick up the phone. So 400 divided by 26 days, because you'll work, you know, you'll take a day off during the week. 400 divided by 26 equals 15 calls a day. So you've worked out your daily behavior. Step number three. So step number one, have a 30-day goal. Step number two, work out what you've got to do each day. Step number three, anticipate hurdles. Factor in what can happen to get in the way. Now, you can't guarantee every possible hurdle, but you can actually estimate the probable hurdles. So you factor that in. Number 4, you create accountability. How does that work? If you're in the real estate gym, you have another real estate gym member and you say, at the end of each day, I will check in with you. We're each doing 15 calls each. That's the accountability. And then the last one is you measure the progress. You measure the progress. Why? Because what you measure, you manage. And how do you do that? It's very simple. At the end of a period, let's say 1 week, you say, well, 6 times 15 means 90. Is that right? Yeah, 6 times 15 equals 90. How did I go this week? Now, I'm going to say to you, thank you, Alex. Yes, it's another $15 Cotton On shirt. And soon I'll be actually getting better clothes. In fact, I've got an appointment with a tailor on Wednesday where I'm seeing Woolcott tailors who do a lot of real estate agents' clothes, including Matt Steinwaite's clothes. I'm seeing them on Wednesday. So they're the 5 steps to any change program, guys and girls. And I'm going to let you know, in the real estate gym, there is a platform there, and it comes free with the real estate gym, and it's called My Prospector. And people that have won that previously include Tanae Jane, who's watching this, Tanae Jane, who won it 2 years ago, and he's moved on to become one of the greatest real estate agents in Melbourne and one of the keynote speakers of ARIC 2 years ago. And Shari, 400 connects in a week will get you 15 appraisals. There's another guy that's, addicted to prospecting. But in the real estate gym, there is a thing called My Prospector. You measure your calls every day, every week, every month, and you can sit there and have a look at how you're going. And I can tell you, what you measure, you manage. And I'm also going to get Susan to put in the real estate gym link. It's realestategym.com.au. The gym is now open for 2020, and we are signing people up to have membership. We've kept it at $620 a year or $65 a month, and that works out to being 3 coffees a week. And of course, you get to come to events like Kickstart for $39. You get face-to-face events. But getting back to My Prospector, this is your own personalized prospecting system that measures your numbers in there, right? Measures your numbers in there. And that is the part of the 5-step process in embracing change. So number 3 is embracing change. Number 4, let's move on to number 4. The 4th thing that mentally strong real estate agents don't do is they don't get distracted by things that they can't control. I'll say it again. They don't get distracted by things that they can't control. Example, Shane Beaumont. Shane, I've just seen you do the thumbs up. Let's talk about Shane Beaumont, who, by the way, will be speaking at the Perth Kickstart. The Perth Kickstart on March the 3rd. Him and Vivian Yap and Sean Hughes. Shane Beaumont. Shane Beaumont works in a market in Western Australia that has got prices that simply haven't gone up for close to a decade. Most of the people end up selling their properties for less than what they actually paid for. There simply is not that many people that actually go to an open house. There are times where Shane says to me he has 0 people coming to the open home. Good to see that Shari's mum's watching in. You've done a fantastic job. You've done a fantastic job. So, what does Shane do? Shane focuses on things that he's got control of. He doesn't sit there and whinge, but I'm in Perth and the market's different here, right? You guys have got it all good. This doesn't apply to me. No. What he does is he goes off and he goes into the real estate gym. He learns all the strategies that apply to him and he focuses on what he can control. He's learned that he's got to have a listing presentation that gets pricing right. So he's focused on that. He's learned the importance of having social media to build his presence because he's a younger agent. And by the way, Shane Bowman smashes it. We're talking 100 sales and over $1 million in Perth, right? And we're not talking about in the prestige suburbs of Perth, right? So Shane, actually type in on Instagram, if you don't mind, the suburbs that you service so people can Google them. And you should follow Shane Beaumont because his social media on Facebook, Insta and Insta Story is quite incredible. You can just copy what he's doing. But guys and girls, he focuses on what he can control and he's learned the importance of getting price alignments. So he's learned to master price alignments. So, and I look at various people that have done, like Chris O'Brien, right? Chris O'Brien, where I've been treated a number of times for cancer, right? And I look at Chris O'Brien. Now, Chris O'Brien, who passed away, ironically, from brain tumor, which is what he was famous for on the show RPA. He used to actually cure people of brain cancer by doing surgery. Some would live, some would die. It hasn't got a great prognosis, brain tumors. But I have to say to you, what Chris O'Brien did is he couldn't control his health. At the end of the day, you know what? He got a brain tumor, but he continued his works till the end. And then his wife, Gail O'Brien, who to this day continues to basically be at Chris O'Brien Lifehouse. This is RPA Hospital, the cancer center there. And you know what kind of a cancer center it is? We're talking they do meditation, they give you foot massages. There's the green room downstairs that actually provides medicinal cannabis for people that get prescribed it to help them with nausea, vomiting, and getting their appetite back. And what she did is, she not only lost her husband at a young age, Gail O'Brien, soon after her husband dies, Gail O'Brien's young son died. And then to top it all off, her daughter, who was a school captain of my daughter's school, got diagnosed with cancer. If you want to talk about someone that should feel like they've been ripped off in life, you should look at this family. Everything's perfect. They're on a TV show. The husband is high-profile doctor, total respect, a happy family. And then in a matter of a couple of years, he dies, the son dies, and the daughter gets cancer. But you know what's happened? Gail from Chris O'Brien Lifehouse keeps working and keeps being and building a legacy. And that hospital at Lifehouse has made living with cancer for cancer sufferers who are going through chemo and radiation and immunotherapy, it just makes it that little bit more bearable because you're actually in a hospital that doesn't feel like it's this sterile environment that you're about to die in, right? And guys and girls, I have to say to you, I've been in Lifehouse and I've also been in the hospital before Lifehouse was built. And guys and girls, can I say to you, when we look, I mean, there's no reason why Gail should have, Gail, think about it. Your whole family has basically been smashed. You've been smashed. You think to yourself, hey, I don't even want to pick up the phone because everything's bad news. But what they've done is they've created a legacy and they have impacted a lot of people's lives because she focused on what she can control, not what she can't control. And I'm emotional about it because I think to myself, there's too many people, and I fall into that trap sometimes, where I think to myself, you know what? You know, look at the good run that this person has had, right? But you know what? If she can wake up each day with what she's copped in her life, right? Everyone can. Number 5. The fifth thing that mentally strong real estate agents don't do is they don't sit there always trying to please others. They don't sit. I'm affected. I'm just thinking about, like, I mean, do you realize, even myself, I think to myself, back in 2006, you wouldn't say that I was a good bet. You wouldn't say I was a good bet to be sitting here today, disease-free. It's been a rocky road, but I've benefited because there are people that gone off and donated money to cancer charities, and that went towards clinical trials, which I've been a part of 2 times now. And sometimes trials work and sometimes they don't work. And all I'm saying is I think everyone's got an opportunity to actually do something with their life, to actually make life a little bit better for the people that are living in it now and the people that are going to be living it in the future. Number 5 is this. Number 5 is mentally strong real estate agents don't sit their time pleasing others all the time. You know, I ran into a guy in Byron Bay and he was telling me about his life. He just decided to drop off. He's living off the grid. The guy's living in a caravan park there in Suffolk Park near Byron Bay. He basically told me he'd spent his whole life trying to please people. You know, he pleased his parents and he went off and he studied a degree he didn't want to study. You know, he went to university and he's doing a course he didn't want to do, but he got his mark and he wanted to please his mother and father. Then he ended up getting married to someone he shouldn't have got married to. Then he ended up having kids and he didn't want to have kids. And you know what happens there? You get to an age of 35 and you realize that you've said yes, yes, yes to everyone and you've said no to yourself. And all I'm saying to you is that be careful. And there's a lot of young real estate agents that I know that what holds them back is they want to fit in. They want to fit into their office. So there's a bunch of other people in the office. There's a bunch of other girls and guys. And what happens is to fit in, you've actually got to modify your behavior. But you want to be a winner. So what means is you want to work a little bit harder, get in earlier, work later, hustle, do the hard work. And then they look at it and they say, oh, look, he's money hungry. Or, oh, he doesn't want to hang around with us. Or he's antisocial. Or, oh, look, he's up himself. All I'm saying to you is listen to me very carefully. If you're a young girl or guy, I'm letting you know, as you're going up the ranks, there are people that are not going to be happy about it. Because when they look at you, they'll see a reflection of what they should be themselves. And what will happen is that they'll give you an energy that's actually going to be a negative energy. And then what will happen is, if you're not mentally strong, you'll succumb to it. And what you'll do is you'll modify yourself and you'll actually change and meet their expectations. And I'm saying to you, that's a sign of someone that's not mentally strong, but a sign that someone that is mentally weak. And Taney Jane is pressing the love button there because he can relate to it. He understands. And any winner understands that. Everyone wants to see you do good till you're better than them. Then what they want to do is they want to come and take you down. And I spend my life trying to help people understand that they're a lot better than what they think they can be. And I spend my life helping people become self-reliant. I'll say it again. That's one of my biggest goals, to become self-reliant, to not require external factors for you to move forward in your life. Number six, and then what we'll do is we're going to call it quits tonight, and then we'll start again next week and do the last 7. Number 6, and by the way, if you've enjoyed the rant, the biggest compliment you can give to me, the biggest thank you can give to me is to press that share button. And I go out of my way these days to eliminate any language that's going to offend any people you share it with. So please press that share button, because they're not going to see me swearing. Number 6, They're not afraid of taking calculated risks. And the key word there is calculated, because, hey, it's not calculated. If you sit there and say, oh, I'm going to dump my job, I'm going to leave my secure job that's giving me a salary for me and my family, and I'm just going to walk away from it, and I'm going to go set up a business, and I'm going to live my hobby. I'm going to go have my hobby, right? And I'm just going to do that. That's not a calculated decision. Why? Because number one, if you're leaving a job and you're not working for yourself, you simply don't have business experience. Or like the real estate guy that I had a session with the other day, he said to me, mate, look, this guy here, right, he wanted to open up a real estate office without having worked in real estate. I said to him, I wouldn't do that, because that's not a calculated risk. That's an uncalculated risk. Why don't you go in and actually do some work experience, work there for a year, see what it's like? Your probability of having successful business will be higher. Now, I've got to say to you, a calculated risk means that you've thought it through and you can live with the consequences. And sometimes I've got to say to you that risks are scarier in your head than what they are in real life. That's the other thing. Let me pick a subject. Personal marketing. Let me drink some water. Let me drink some water. Okay, so personal marketing. You know, a lot of people are scared of investing $5,000 or $10,000 for themselves. I've got to tell you, some of the real estate agents that I know that are doing exceptionally well, that are writing 7-figure GCIs, are investing 20 and 30, 40, 50,000 of personal marketing, because they don't see it as being a cost. They see it as being an investment in the profits. That's an example of taking calculated risks. Or putting on a part-time assistant That's a calculated risk. I mean, man, you got to get over it in your head. Like, it doesn't work out. We've got in Australia a rule that you got, 3 months probation. You can actually say goodbye to someone. But all I'm saying to you is that pretty much all the good stuff in your life will happen when you're not in your comfort zone. But it doesn't mean that you've got to bet your whole house away. It means that you make calculated risks. And I'm going to finish off with the story of Albert Ellis, the famous psychologist from many, many years ago. You see, Albert Ellis had this phobia. He had this thing in his head that he could not live being rejected by someone of the opposite sex. And what he did is this. To help him get over it, he just did an experiment where he went and sat down on a chair in a park and would sit down next to a girl, and he would ask her out. So here are the statistics. Out of 130 people that he sat down next to, 30 just got up and walked away. Leroy, I'm glad I'm changing your life tonight. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. And that matters to me. 30 people got off the chair and walked away. That left 100. Out of the 100, he asked every one of those 100 out. One said yes. And that person that said yes actually never ever showed up to the date. So what's the point? The point was he realized that it wasn't as scary as he thought it would be. It wasn't as scary as he thought it would be. And he was able to get over the phobia of talking to people in the opposite sex. Might I say, his stats weren't very good. But guys and girls, that finishes the 6. We'll cover the other 7 next week. Few quick announcements. The real estate gym is open. Susan is going to put the link down. For those of you that don't look at links and remember things, it's realestategym.com.au. The doors are open. That's the first thing. The second thing is Kickstart. We are already at 680 people for Kickstart. I am very confident we are going to hit the 1,000 mark on Kickstart. 1,000 people across Australia and New Zealand. Kickstart is $39 if you're a real estate gym member, and it is $199 if you're not a real estate gym member. If you join the gym, of course, you end up saving the $160 and you get all the other benefits. Who are the people that are going to be speaking at Kickstart? I'm going to forget all the names, but here are some of them. In Sydney, Lisa Novak, Josh Tesselin, John McGrath. In Melbourne, Matthew Pilios, Fox, Shari, who's on here right now, Nicole Gleason from Kay and Burden. Again, a speaker from ARIC, incredible operator, long-term $1 million agent in Victoria. In Adelaide, Angelo Nicholas, who I believe is currently the #1 real estate agent for the Harris Group. I believe he is the #1 agent for the Harris Group, Angelo Nicholas. Listen, if I go through every speaker in every city, I'm going to actually bore people. Guys and girls, Susan has put down the link for you to actually come to Kickstart. You'll also be getting your playbook, your plan for 2020 to smash it. Guys and girls, I'm going to leave it at that, and I'm going to let you know. I look forward to seeing you next week. But love to have you in the real estate gym for 2020. You've got a taste of what I think and my views, and I've got to tell you, nothing makes me happier than seeing 7 real estate agents last week did incredible things for the fires. And when Susan did a reconciliation and went off there, I said to her, find out a little bit about these people. All 7 were real estate gym members. And that makes me proud because it means my message of you don't have to be a dickhead to be successful in real estate stands. Susan has been kind enough to actually put down all the speakers on Facebook. Chris Gilmore, Jason Adcock, we've got Tara in Brisbane, So she's been very kind to put them all up there. Guys and girls, signing off. I'll see you next week.